Now, 40 years ago, when Tom Morton was but a slip of a thing and I was a mere twinkle in my daddy's eye, the American rock musical Hair burst onto the stages of Broadway in the West End of London. More than any other show of the time, it captured the mood of the 60s, the age of hippies and peace and love, and of anti-war protest against America's presence in Vietnam. In Britain, the Lord Chamberlain could no longer dictate what could and couldn't be performed on stage, and Hare's nude scenes provoked outrage, controversy and national moral panic, much of it whipped up by the press, of course. Now, more than 40 years on, Hare's being revived by the Edinburgh Music Theatre, and that's given our reporter, Bob Dixon, a chance to wallow unashamedly in some 60s nostalgia.
I was 20 at the time and considered myself to be pretty hip. Resplendent, or so I thought, in pink velvet flared trousers and a fetching paisley-patterned shirt, I settled into my seat in the front stalls of the Shaftesbury Theatre in London's West End. Abseiling down from the boxes in the dress circle came the cast. A black lady climbed over the back of my seat and gave me a red carnation before getting up on stage. This was the dawn of a new age of musical theatre.
When the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter aligns with Mars.
Hair encapsulated the anti-establishment mood of the late 60s and its generation of young hippies whose culture meant making peace, not war, and trying out exotic substances and lifestyles.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, Aquarius.
The show's songs became anthems for those on both sides of the Atlantic protesting about the war in Vietnam. But more than 40 years on, will Hair have the same appeal to a new generation of theatre goers?
Fine, so we've got chord. Just feel it together, because I'll be behind you. You just have to see what happens. You can lie.
You can lie in bed, you can lay in bed, you can die in bed.
Pray.
You can pray in bed.
It's a week to go until curtain up, and in a drafty church hall in Bruntsfield, the members of the Edinburgh Music Theatre are rehearsing with an urgency that only comes when opening night is looming. Jane Liggett, you chaired the theatre company. This must be unlike anything you've ever done before.
Yes, it is. Nothing's quite like Hair. I think 40 years on, it still is as relevant as it ever has been, particularly now with the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and so on. It's totally relevant, and I think it'll speak to a lot of people.
Hair was very much a show of its time. It encapsulated the mood of the 1960s. How is your show going to be different from that?
We're not doing it like flower power, like people perhaps imagine the hippies to look like. I think ours is almost timeless. Some people will see it very much set in the 1960s, other people will see it very much relevant to now.
Now, in your production, the tribe, the central group within the show, is completely made up of women. Why is that?
A lot of it was to do with the fact that when we had our first audition workshop, we didn't have a large number of men turn up to audition to the show. Here is one of those shows that you can interpret it whatever way you want, and this is the way that we've interpreted it.
Now, nudity is commonplace in the theatre nowadays, but back in 1968 it was very unusual. How are you going to treat that part of the story?
When anyone thinks of Hair, they think of the nude scene. In our production, we've always made it quite clear to our performers that they don't have to take their clothes off if they don't want to. My suspicion is that a lot of people say now they don't want to take their clothes off, but when they actually get onto the stage, they probably will.
The story of Hair evolves around a tribe of politically active, long-haired hippies fighting against conscription by the American government into the Vietnam War. They're trying to balance their lives amid a sexual and social revolution with their rebellion against the war and the conservative attitudes of their parents and society.
My name is Stephanie Kuipers, and I play the central character of Claude. Claude is sort of torn between his life in the tribe and his life that that his parents are involved in. Claude very much wants to be part of the tribe, of this peace movement, of the love, the free love that's shared. But whereas most of the members of the tribe have a very distinct reason for being there, he's sort of railing against something that he doesn't understand. He's very much deciding, okay, which way do I go? He goes off to war. He chooses not to burn his draft card. And in the end, he dies. He gets shot.
Claude, where were you? I had to get away. I was in the jungle, meditating. Hey, today I went down to the abduction center and freaked them all out, all the way, as far as I could go.
What did you tell them? What did you do?
I told them I want to go. I want to die and kill for my country. Hell, I don't even need a gun. I'll kill them with my bare hands.
Is that how it was?
No. No, it wasn't like that at all.
Well, while the Edinburgh Music Theatre's rehearsals continue apace ahead of next week's opening, let's turn the clock back more than 40 years to when the original London stage version of the show took the West End by storm.
How can people be so heartless? How can people be so cruel? Easy to be hard.
Among the leads in that production was a young actress who'd not long completed a season at Edinburgh's Traverse Theatre. Annabel Leventon, to what extent was there a feeling among the cast that you were about to break the mould as far as traditional music theatre was concerned?
I think we all knew exactly what was going on and sort of couldn't believe our luck to be part of it. It changed theatre forever, and people think that it had a major influence in stopping the Vietnam War. Obviously, no one thing did that. It so encapsulated the mood of innocence, openness, youth. There had never been a rock musical before that. There'd never been a company which was half black actors. It was a bit late for the 60s to arrive, but when it arrived at the West End, it changed the mood of the times wholesale.
Give me a sense of the public reaction to the show when it came out in '68.
They went berserk, and the place erupted on that first night. Things like the pop world we're used to were being used, like strobe lighting and extraordinary physical effects and rock music. And the combination of that in an old-fashioned theatre kind of took the roof off the place.
Was the nudity an integral part of the show? It was a very small part of the show.
It was 20 seconds, ill-lit at the end of Act 1. It was about innocence and about man dressed in a little brief authority, or man in a uniform having automatic power over the people who don't. People went to see it just for that, but maybe they were changed by being there too. So it was its strength and its weakness, if you like, adding something as bold as that.
Good morning, starshine. We're happy and strong. We send you love from above. Our early morning singing song.
Michael Richardson, you're the director of Hair. To what extent is this production going to shock and surprise and engage the way the original did?
I think it won't shock in the same way. I think there was lots about the original that was designed to shock, a really sort of in-your-face presentation of hippie culture. But I think engage, absolutely, because I think the messages of the hippie movement about promoting peace and the anti-war messages have not been learnt. And they're as relevant, if not more relevant today than they were in the 60s. And so in terms of engaging audiences with the story of Claude, absolutely.
That still sounds fantastic, doesn't it? Bob Dixon was talking to the director and cast of Edinburgh Music Theatre's production, which is at the Churchill Theatre in Edinburgh from the 24th to the 28th of February. And the company's website is edinburghtheatre.co.uk.